Good evening. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional.
People are angry about what they say the government is trying to control with what women can do with their own bodies. This comes after a series of states passed laws dramatically restricting abortion rights.
Well, I feel like this is deeply unsettling, to say the least, because I've grown up, in the last few years, I've learned that yes, you can have an abortion, that's normal, and the fact that that's being denied and at that scale, that kind of worries me.
I'm an abortion provider. I've been working in abortion for 30 years, and so I've seen the realities of women who need and want abortions, which is all ages of women and all walks of life, all socioeconomic statuses. Women get pregnant when they don't want to be, and they want to have an abortion.
I just know for myself, when I was faced with that decision, I had to think about, one, that's a human being. How do I take care of myself, one, as a human being, and can I do that for someone else? And at the time, my answer was no.
You don't need a justification behind an abortion besides, I don't want it to carry a child to full term.
We've had to work so hard over all these years in America's history to just be able to work and make our own choices and not follow behind a man. Now all these men are making laws based on our insides. Makes no sense.
7 other states have passed anti-abortion bills, including Alabama, where the governors signed into law the country's most restrictive abortion ban. It makes it a crime for doctors to perform abortions at any stage of a pregnancy, with exceptions for when the woman's health is at risk, but not for rape or incest.
So I just think that there's this unconscious hate towards women in our society, and they're using any way, shape, or form to restrict a woman from being herself and doing what she wants to do.
It makes you feel like just powerless.
The big thing about abortion for me is more about control than it is about the life of the child or the fetus. Historically, who has had power in our government, in our society? It is white men. And the way to keep power is to keep passing these laws that restrict the rights of women and the right to govern what you do with your body.
We have a president who doesn't agree with these things, who doesn't agree with abortions, and he's kind of pushing these forward. I feel like this should make tons of women's lives terrible, and it might save a few children, and I'm sure the state does have interest in unborn lives, but I feel like they should have interest in the lives that gave them life, or not even yet, before the heartbeat. So I feel like a life that has already been lived so far is a little bit more important than a baby who just had a heartbeat, doesn't really have a consciousness.
It just maintains our racist government practices where women who have money will always be able to have an abortion, and women who don't have money will not be able to have an abortion. And as we all know, women of color are disproportionately represented in the population of women who don't have money. So it's just, it makes me feel very angry.
Eliminating abortion clinics doesn't stop abortions, it stops safe ones.
What the reality will be like for women who are forced to carry a pregnancy that they don't want is very harsh, because 60% of women who have abortions are already mothers. They already have a child or children, so they know what it's like to carry a pregnancy to term and raise a child, and they don't want that if they're choosing to have an abortion. So to be forced to be in that situation, it just takes away a woman's self-efficacy. It takes away a woman's ability to lead the life she wants to lead and provide for the children that she already has, and that's really heartbreaking.
Your childhood affects how you are as an adult, and if your parent is not equipped to parent you, that is going to affect you on so many emotional, physical, mental levels later on in life.
I believe that these laws will affect poor women, and almost 100%. And that is a lot of women, and a lot of women in this country. And their partners as well, but I think it will very strongly affect poor women and not have as much of an effect on women with means.
I think it will be the adoption rate and foster child rate would increase. Also, children living in poverty, I feel like, will increase. I think child endangerment and neglect numbers will increase.
There are religious people who use their religion as a type of justification for being pro-life, or whether it's homophobic or transphobic, whatever it is. But it's not necessarily the religion that dictates your opinion on something. I don't think it can be used as a mask for your viewpoints. Just because you're Christian, just because you're Catholic, it doesn't dictate your viewpoint.
So the Torah is basically the Old Testament, and there is nothing in the Torah that says that abortion is wrong.
My thinking is that if you are really religious and you are all about the life of children, then if you're really about protecting the life of the fetus and child inside a woman's body, then you're also for protecting the children that are in cages on the southern border. And you're also for protecting the children who get shot by cops in the streets. And I think if you don't focus on those issues, and you're just focusing mostly on what's inside the woman's body, you're not really being religious.
A woman is so strong when she chooses to do what she wants with her body, and if that's choosing an abortion, then fine by her.
And so while there's a lot of fluctuation of whether that's policies that are conservative or progressive, or, dangerous or not dangerous, that overstep people's civil rights, I think eventually, because there's always that pushback from people who know what is right, that protect civil rights, there's always that push of back and forth, and I know that it will, at the end, justice will win. At the end, we'll keep on fighting for our rights, and it's important. It's such a hard battle, but it's so important to keep on going. I think that, in this whole, it's really hard to be looking at this all, especially as a young person, and be like, oh my God, like all of these things that we thought were fixed when we were growing up. No, a lot of these things are going back. Looking at our presidency, growing up with Obama and then having Trump, it makes you kind of disillusioned. But I think that sometimes you have to take a step back and realize history is long, and you just have to keep fighting the good fight, and you have to keep going.